And I'm going to turn off my.
Okay. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
Okay, perfect. And so I'll just share kind of my name. You said my name, how to pronounce it correctly, and then sort of this idea about my relationship to being a creative. And so,
Yes.
yeah. So, uh, my name is Ramya Shanmugavelayutham. I have not in the yeah, I have not really considered myself a creative in the past. My career started off as I was a kindergarten through fifth grade Spanish teacher. I did teach for America, and then I went back to school to become a mental health therapist. And I I think my connection or movement into creativity came through realizing that existing solutions around promoting mental health and well-being were leaving a lot of gaps in people's care. And so a lot of my training and experience was overemphasizing cognition and the brain. And I found more and more that community members who I was supporting were being really disconnected and disembodied from their own, from the portal of the wisdom, which kind of comes from people's bodies. And so I left the US for a year and I trained in dance movement therapy in India. And during that time, uh, I did like a creative, an integrated arts module, and it really kind of opened up my sense of creativity. I had always had these like little stints of creativity throughout my life. Like I had taken various classes, done various projects, won different kinds of awards, but it wasn't kind of the connective tissue in my world because I think we live in a society that can really emphasize things like science and rationality and reasoning. And so I think about my creative self as kind of this like adolescent that I never quite brought into adulthood. And then as an adult, I've been able to reconnect to that sense of creativity and have really started to step fully into that identity, while also holding creative, kind of thinking about creativity as like one hand and thinking about sort of science analysis as sort of these other hands, and recognizing that when I'm using them both in my work, I'm able to make a bigger difference in being able to reach whole people. And so yes, I wouldn't have called myself a creative in the past, but I'm realizing that creativity, and being connected to my creative self is allowing me to access an entirely new set of tools that I think have such a significant impact on the world.
Great. So now, if you could tell us a little bit about your project that you had submitted for the grant and kind of what inspired you to do it, um, and then kind of how you were planning to use uh, the grant money towards completing this project.
Yeah, absolutely. So the project, like kind of the title of the project that I am hoping to do is called "When Life Gives You Limes: Reclaiming Our Roots and Fertilizing Our Futures." And I'm gonna get like a little bit emotional as I describe this, because I think it's actually like an even more perfect time to do it than I had initially um, intended to propose it. But this this project is inspired by this trip that I've had, and this kind of most recently I went to India, both to train as a dance movement therapist, but also as a way to really grapple with the the sort of intergenerational kind of trauma and narratives of my own family. And so when I went to India, I visited my father's ancestral home, and on his property was I actually at first it was just a lime tree, but I realized actually that there is also a mango tree. But this particular project is inspired by the lime tree that is on my father's ancestral property, and this lime tree I found out by talking to my uncle. It's really, really abundant. So there was like, we were literally like picking the limes off this tree together and like carrying bags of them back. And the reason why this lime tree is so abundant is because it literally absorbs the sewage of the village. And so it became like a really beautiful metaphor for me of how a lot of times in Western society we kind of disconnect to waste. Like in the US, you know, we people take trash and they just sort of it's just hidden, right? We don't really sort of grapple with and find the beautiful pieces of the things that we're discarding. We sort of can undiscriminately just discard things. And so I really liked this idea that sometimes the things that we perceive as things that ought to be waste can actually be harnessed to make something really beautiful and to inspire abundance. And so the specific project that the sort of deliverable or the concrete aspect of this project is I'd really like to create a mixed media art piece that is inspired by this experience in this tree. And I would like to pair that art piece with a creative expression or dance movement therapy session to help kind of community members really go through a parallel experience as the one that I was privileged to have through my visit to India. And so a lot of times with dance movement therapy or when we're using creative arts therapies, we can bring a sort of catalyst to invite in processing. And so my hope is to be able to use like recycled or, you know, discarded materials to be able to create as part of an art piece that is inspired by this tree. Um, and also in that process of visiting my parents' ancestral home, I was able to find photographs and letters that I'd like to have translated as part of the process of building this art piece. And then through that art piece, I would facilitate a session, hopefully in collaboration with organizations that are local to me, to be able to give Asian American folks an opportunity to use this art piece as a way to reflect on things in their own intergenerational lines that might be the things that we don't talk about, kind of silent stories, things that bring up feelings of shame or secrecy, and instead of like discarding those, to be able to integrate them. And what I've understood about dance movement through therapy and creative arts therapy is that we really have an opportunity to to integrate in our bodies things that we've disconnected from. And so my hope is like I kind of share this art piece, facilitate some dialogue, but really create a space of creation and reflection so that community members can kind of connect to my narrative in a way that embraces their own so that folks are left with a really enduring sense of integration of parts of themselves or parts of their family lineages that maybe aren't the things that people are most proud of, but are equally essential to the people that we are and become. So that's kind of the general premise of the piece. Kind of make this mixed media art piece and then unveil it to community members and be able to use it to harness it to help people reflect and process and heal in their own way.
That sounds beautiful. I'm a big uh, advocate for art and in terms of mental health and healing because I also work for a nonprofit called Arts is Healing, and we provide free art classes to cancer patients and patients with chronic illnesses, but also anyone who really needs it because, you know, I think again, people forget how important art is. We need art to have a civilized society, art, reading, literature, even TV, all of that is art. So, what you're doing sounds beautiful. And then I guess as part of your show, you are also going to incorporate the the dancing as well.
Yeah.
And will that be will that be part of kind of like your opening reception? Will it be like a one-time thing or like something you want to try and do continue for at least more than once?
Yeah. So my initial conception, so the initial conception of it was kind of sharing this piece and then doing this session afterwards. I guess I'm not sure sort of if it would be something that I could do repeatedly or if it would be, I mean, I intend in the community that I'm from to be able to provide those offerings more frequently. Not sure if that will be something that um, would be facilitated by this particular grant or just an additional offering that I give to the community. But the way like sort of a dance movement therapy session sort of works is that often there is like kind of like an opening circle where people connect. There's like different like a warm up, and then there's like a main process portion. And so I think about this art piece as the catalyst for that main process portion. And then from there, usually there's like a component of relaxation, and then a component of like conclusion or an ending circle, and then that space would sort of transition into dialogue. And so my intention with this particular grant was to make this offering once in connection to the project, but my hope in the long term is to be able to create like a container space that's more continuous for people, as a way to be able to process these kind of broad, relevant themes in our communities. But the initial conception of it as I wrote the project proposal was really centered around using the art piece as a catalyst for one particular session that would be a little bit longer than I might usually do.
Okay. No, that sounds wonderful. Definitely, when you do finish, definitely share that with us. And then, of course, for us, it's not, we hope that this grant isn't, um, we hope that when we when if you are to receive this grant that you'll continue sharing and with us so that we can help um, spread your project and share your project to other people, and because a lot of our recipients, we encourage them even afterwards, even after they finish their projects, to always share with us their new ones or just what's going on in their life. It doesn't even have to be like a big project, because we definitely want to keep promoting your growth and just sharing your journeys, your stories. Um, so besides, um, you did share a bit about how this was a personal project for you, and also something that you want um, to get the community involved. But again, like, what would it mean for you to get this grant? We realize it's not a large amount of money, but especially since it is hard, especially for the Asian community to apply for these types of grants, or a lot of times they don't know that these grants exist. And um, we grew up in a society where it's always the model minority. We are in a certain, put in a certain framework. So what would it mean for you to receive this grant on a personal level?
I really appreciate this question because I think um, it's not just about, monetary support. I think for so many folks from Asian American backgrounds, we come from communities that really and sort of lineages that really value stability. Like, so many of our family members came to this country for really concrete stability, and so when folks say like I want to do art or want to kind of venture into an artistic praxis, it's not always like a smooth journey, right? Like it's not like medicine, engineering, law. It's not sort of these professions that are really validated in our communities. And so for me, I think I've kind of toggled this line between wanting to step into the identity of being a creative, but also having real questions about the legitimacy of my artistry. And so what this grant would do for me is kind of like give me the stamp of approval of stepping into this identity more fully, knowing that there is a panel of people who I respect who've kind of taken a look at my proposal and are have faith in my ability to make an impact on the world through the vehicle of art. I think that's the biggest that I think that's the thing that's the most impactful for me is knowing that to feel in some ways like legitimized in my creative pursuits, knowing that it might not be the journey ahead might not be a clear and direct path, but it's one that there are a team of folks who believe in me, and and are kind of backing me well beyond the grant period, right? Like, you just mentioned the support and relationship that you build with your grantees, and so I'm just looking forward to both kind of having that support, but also kind of building a broader relationship to figure out how all of us can work collectively to make a bigger impact, and figure out how, as individuals, we can channel the gifts that we've been given in a way that is authentic and fruitful and beneficial to all our community members. And so, yeah, that's the impact this grant would have on me.
Yeah, no, I mean that's wonderful, and if the I mean, from perspective of an artist who also grew up the same way, where my parents wanted to be me to be a doctor, and then um, I ended up marrying a doctor, but I ended up uh, pursuing art, and but and like you said, in terms of stability and searching for grants, and so I appreciate um, you saying that from your perspective as well. Um, And then another aspect of our program, if you receive the grant, we have a mentorship program. And we last year we partnered up with Unlock Her Potential. It's a mentorship program that was founded by Sophia Chang. She was like the first Asian American um, uh, like prominent Asian American woman to be in the hip hop industry. So she was the manager for Wu-Tang Clan, and so she started this service, or she started this program, and I think they will give you like a free year membership, and so you can sign up for classes. They'll pair you up with a mentor. They have different workshops depending on kind of, they have whatever your focus is in terms of um, your like creative like outlet and everything. So we'll have that to offer as well. Um, and then I have a couple more questions. Um, how did you hear about our grant? If you had any feedback about the grant process, and if there were like better ways for us to spread about the grant? Um,
I'm trying to think about. Well, one, I'm just so happy to hear about this mentorship support. Also, I think it's uh, it's always lovely to see people that have kind of carved their own path or who have guidance to give. I think I come from a community that values elders, and elders don't have to just be elders in in numerical age, but folks who just have life experience and wisdom to pass down. So really appreciative just to hear that an opportunity that comes from this. And in terms of the process of finding out about the grant, I believe I believe I just found out about it through social media. Um, I think I follow a few different accounts that have different like grant opportunities for artists, and so I kind of just keep an eye on those. And it's possible that I was already following VAF before as well, but it was through social media primarily, and I think it popped up in a couple different ways. And in terms of the process itself for applying, um, I, I think if there is, I'm thinking about like if you're trying to kind of have a broader reach. I know, I kind of wonder about sort of geographic. I guess I wonder where your grantees typically come from, and if there could be something that could be done to expand in terms of like geographic communities. But the process itself um, felt pretty like clear for me. I know one thing that helped me was I think I had looked on the your Instagram account to see what kinds of folks had previously applied for the grant and had gotten it. And so, because a big question for me was like, am I even qualified to apply for this? Like, I think that question of like, am I actually creative or not? Like, because I think so much of that part of myself is still coming out of the shadows. And so, kind of seeing that actually this is a grant that is available for folks who are about to cross a threshold of self-belief. I think that was really impactful to me because I realized like, oh, this grant is actually exactly for someone like me who may not be fully confident and fully immersed in their creative identity. But grants also beget grants, and support begets support. And so I think the beautiful thing about this grant is that it offers like the sort of first this sort of first encouragement to people. And so I think in terms of improvement, it might be nice if that was something that was like in a more obvious place. Like I think I'm not sure if it is kind of clear and obvious on the website or in the application process materials. I know for me, I remember like I think I've also found like a video of former grantees, and I was like, okay, like I do feel like this is something that um, could that I could um, be qualified for. And I think a lot of Asian American folks, we know that uh, most women and Asian American women only apply for things that they see themselves as qualified for, right? Versus white men will apply for things that they may not have the qualifications, but they'll still apply. Often for Asian American folks, unless we have all of the requirements and some of the like optional requirements, we often won't apply to things. And so I think for anyone who is a budding creative, who might be a little like tentative about stepping into asking for support, it might just be helpful to see, oh, like a lot of the grantees are people who, this is for folks who are career transitioning. This is for folks who may not feel uh, fully integrated with their creative identities yet, but that's exactly why you would be a good fit for this grant. And so maybe in that Google Doc or the Google form or in on the web page, that maybe you just have a link to like former if you don't already, you might already, but if you don't, having a link to former grantees and kind of uh, what types of projects they've proposed in the past. I think for a lot of people, representation is often the biggest barrier. And I know for me, doing a little digging made me feel like this could be something that's a good fit. And I imagine that there's other people who might be good fits, but might also feel like I'm not creative enough for this, or I'm not at a stage yet where I'm like good enough to apply for this. And I would hate for someone who could really use and benefit from the support, both on the kind of financial level, but even more so on the like psychological level, to not really realize that they're absolutely represented in this grant possibility. So that's kind of the only general feedback I have.
No, thank you. That's a good point. Because um, originally the grant was started more focusing on people who had pivoted careers from a non-creative industry to a creative industry, because that's basically what um, uh, our well, the our board member that founded the Creators Grant Fund, she was a physical therapist, and then she decided to get into baking and writing, and basically a food blogger. So, but then we also realized, because um, that not everyone has um, the opportunity, the privilege to be able to completely switch, because um, you know, as we had mentioned before, and you had mentioned that being an artist isn't super stable. It's not the most stable of careers. So some people, can't afford to completely switch and only focus. But I do know people who have. But again, if you're in a good position, you're privileged enough to do it. And so we were getting feedback on that. So then we switched it to completely, it didn't matter whether you had switched careers or whatever level you were at, whatever part of your career. So um, um, I think definitely we will make sure to emphasize that in the, because I'm reading it over, and first time for some reason I thought that was in there, but of course we don't want to just assume that people know just by reading. So I think we'll be a little bit um, well, more clear on that as well. That could be any level in your career, whether beginning, just starting out, or you're at a professional level. Because again, all of our recipients have been at different levels in their careers in their life. So that's really great feedback. Thank you. Um, okay, well,
I was just gonna say, kind of bouncing off of that, just wanted to add that I think the real power of this grant is that it creates a pathway for people to flip that switch from being someone who might say, "Oh, I do this as a hobby," to feeling like, "Oh, I have the backing and the legitimacy to do this for my life." And so I think it's even more essential to be able to get this in the eyes of people who might be on the side of I'm not yet ready to cross that threshold, because I think this is a really really powerful support to say you absolutely can. And a lot of times when people are applying for grant funding, there is questions about what how you've been previously funded, and it's kind of like the same problem that folks kind of have when they leave college, if that's the path that they take of like I need a job to find a job, I need a grant to get a grant. And so I think that this is actually a really profound grant, because it's the sort of the paving the first steps for people to be able to say I can do this, to sort of plant the seeds of that self-belief, so that they can sort of flip the switch into saying this isn't just something that I like to do on the side, but this is me now investing in myself because others have invested in me. And so I guess I just want to underscore the importance of folks who maybe don't have that confidence yet. And because I also see that a lot in my work as a therapist, right? Is that so many people are teetering this line of like, I know that there's something stirring inside of me that makes me feel called towards this other path, but I don't yet feel ready, or I don't feel yet, I haven't been authorized by somebody else. I think a lot of folks in the Asian American community, we're used to outside authority authorizing us. The beautiful thing about this grant is it's saying we're giving you the authority to step into this, and there's a real power in that.
no, yes, those are really great points. So again, thank you so much for that feedback, and we'll definitely um, keep that in mind when because that was also another issue too. We had to really be careful about our wording this year, just because of everything that's going on. Um, but we didn't want to lose. Um, the core of the grant and the importance of the grant and who, um, our applicants were and who our potential applicants would be. So we'll definitely add that to our application. Um, let's see. So last question. If you get accepted, would you be able to attend our luncheon on October 19th? I think it's on Sunday, October 19th. Um, Let me double check. Yes, October 19th. It'll be in Seattle.
Yes, I have it marked in my calendar already as a possibility. So it's already trying to block the time to manifest the opportunity. And so yes,
Okay,
I don't currently have any conflicts, and I would look forward to coming to that event.
wonderful. Well, it was wonderful listening to you and listening to your story and your project. And so I want to officially tell you, congratulations. You are one of our finalists. We are so excited. Um, and I'm excited to meet you in person. And I'm excited to see your project because, the core of it, all of it, just really, again, resonated with me in terms of, and with our committee. We had 8 committee members this year, and last year we only had four. So this year we had eight, and your project definitely resonated with our committee, and um, just um, and again, I'm sorry with all the things that are happening to you right now, um, but I hope uh, you know this gives you some encouragement with your project, and um, uh, we will have Shelby send you an email with information on, for your for a W-9, a bio, a headshot, and then how you would like your name to be written in terms of when we make the announcement, also on your award and in programs for the event. If you will let us know by the end of July to confirm if you can come to the luncheon, we will have offer a $500 stipend for your travel expenses. We will provide a one night stay. So that'll be Saturday night. Of course, if you want to stay longer, we will have a hotel block with a discount. So if you do want to stay longer, but that again will be up to you in terms of that would be your responsibility. But other than that, we will provide the one night stay, and then $500 for travel expenses, so airplane, if share ride, that kind of thing. So,
Okay, well, thank you so much. And yeah, I took I'm probably going to get emotional, which is fine because I'm a therapist and I'm comfortable with emotions. But I took like a pause when when all of this happened with my mom, and I was like, do I have capacity to still do this project? And I sat with a little bit, and I thought, I think this is actually an even bigger gift, the timing of this, because um, so much of what I think is part and parcel to the Asian American experience is the grief in different ways. And so just the magnitude of the concrete loss of my mother, I think um, I was like, wow, this is actually even more important to be doing it. I need sort of the processing space. This is the power of art, and it would be such a blessing to be able to have this support on the heels of such a big loss, and to be able to convert that into healing for myself and others. And so I thought about it. I was like, is this like a horrible idea to sort of try to move forward with this when there's a seismic shift in my world? And I thought, if my mom was here, she would want me to kind of move forward. And this is the value of art, is to be able to process these big feelings. And so I'm just really, really grateful that even though the timing at first I was like, oh no, I think a lot of those like oh no feelings are actually just like blessings in disguise. And so just really, really grateful.
mean, we're we're grateful that you would share this project with us. We had probably about 250 applicants. It was so difficult because there were so many amazing projects. And so that's why it's like, gosh, we wish we had more money to keep to support all these projects. And even if we can't, we tried to share on social media and everything. So even again, even after your project, we want to keep sharing your story. We want to keep following your growth, your journey. So for us, it does not end at just this grant. We want to keep being there to support you. So congratulations again. I'm so excited. We're also excited for you. I'm so excited for you. We're so excited to meet all of you in person. And I can't wait to see your project.
Oh, well, thank you so much for meeting and your flexibility and all this, and for your support. I'm really excited to be able to build something, to create something, and to be able to share it with our communities.
Yeah, and I mean, we need people like, you. We need people like, all the people who applied. I mean, that's how we build a society. We build diversity. We build, I mean, all of that. So, well, I will hopefully we will talk soon. If not through Shelby, and then we will, we'll get everything in order for Sunday Fun Day, and we'll have more information. We'll have more um, concrete stuff in terms of itinerary and things like that, probably in August. So, of
Sounds good. Thank you so much, Michelle.
course, thank you. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Congratulations again. Again, please look out for an email from Shelby.
Of course, will do.
Okay, bye.
Take care.